20 acres, which is what we consider our home farm. Google hasn't updated, but this is the first high tunnel. This is the asparagus patch. The second high tunnel is here. And eventually this is all going to be outdoor growing space. So how do I do it? I use regenerative ag practices, soil health practices, biomimicry. I read a lot about organic. I'm not certified organic and I never will be. So no-till in the pasture, minimum till in the greenhouse. I can talk about that a little bit. I prioritize living roots, be it cover crops, perennials, annual crops. I always want roots in the ground. Animal impact, not just the above ground animals, be it the humans, the sheep or the pigs, but also the biology under our feet, and soil armor. Again, I'm pretty sure everyone in this room knows what these things are. I guess you can see. This is the second high tunnel before we had it completely finished, so I let nature's cover crops, some people call them weeds, but I call them nature's cover crops, grow. And we had a lot of nice grazing inside the high tunnel before it was finished. So biology. On my farm, I started with worms and worm castings because Dan Rager at Fed and Happy is my friend, and he has great products. So I started with worms, with castings. I was making my own tea with his castings. I highly recommend him. We compost on farm. I have done Johnson Sioux with other folks, not on the farm, but that's something that's also coming onto the farm in the near future. And then I also make and use IMOS for myself and have seen huge benefit. So this picture right here is a picture of my garage floor with a tarp. That's cover crop seed. The black stuff is worm castings. The sprayer is IMOS, and that's how I bioprime seed. Very easy, very quickly, and very cheap. 5 minutes? Okay. And this right here is, you can see the fungal grow out component on one of my IMOS beds. These are some of my favorite tools. I'm running out of time. So pictures speak louder than words. Catch me in the hallway. And remember that we are going to have a replicate of this session tomorrow, and we can talk more about some of my favorite tools, how I use them, and why I use them. I think the biggest thing I want to say here too is the best tools you have are your 5 senses. And I know I have 7 on here, but your number 6 and your number 7 sense is your heart and your gut. You should always have a heart and gut check of what you do. And if your heart and your gut doesn't tell you it's right, then you should probably be rethinking what you're doing. And I have arguments with myself about that often. So it's not easy, but it is very important. So we don't do herbicide. Our swaps are tarping for termination, crimping, companion cropping, and relay cropping. We don't do synthetic pesticides. Our swaps are growing in season, biology application to seeds, to plants, but also bringing in ladybugs and other beneficials, habitat production beneficials, companion crops, catch crops, and then if I do have to pull chemistry out, the chemistry that I use is listed on this slide. We don't do genetic modification. Our swaps are hybrid and heirloom seeds, and 99% of the time I always buy organic. We also don't do negativity and fear. So we swap that with gratitude, joy, positivity, and transparency, but also community, because if I do get into a negative spot in my head, I have my list of people to reach out to that say, hey, this is where I'm at, I don't want to be here, and I need your help. So phone a friend, and phone me. This is my why. I started this because I wanted healthy food for myself and my family. I also started this because of this photo right here. I look a little different there. When I regenerated my soil, I regenerated more than my soil. And I'm not here to talk about my health journey, but I have no problem talking to you about it if you're interested. It's not just physical health, it's metabolic health, it's mental health, it's the health of a relationship with my husband, with my children, with my friends and my family, and my community. This was 2 weeks ago. Another part of our why is I'm a total nature nerd. If it's outside, I love it. My motto is there's never bad weather, there's just bad preparation and gear. This weather out here right now, I love it. Yeah, it's frustrating sometimes, but I want this thing and these things to continue being available for me to use, for me to catch, for me to enjoy, and also I don't want them killing me. So I'm ready to talk about you. You can ask me questions as well. I want you to know that you can email me if you want these slides. You don't need it, you already know. But I did bring some of my favorites, and I'm clicking through all of this really fast. I printed them out for you. They're over on that table. Go get them. Oh, and these are plans for the future, which we don't have time to talk about right now. So, what questions do you have? Oh, crickets, come on, somebody's got something. Jimmy.
So how did you build your market? That's a big question for everybody.
With my mouth? Talking. So before I started on my own, I did research for a company called Prairie Food. I worked at Jago Farm. I worked at MG Honor Farm for Clint Brower and Greenfield Robotics. And I talk to people about what ignites my passion, my fire, and that's how I build my customer base for the most part. Yes, I use social media. No, I don't have a website, but we will. But I use my mouth, and I hug my people, and I tell them, I'm doing what I do for myself first, and I care about what goes on my body and on my plate, and I care also about what goes in your body, on your body, and on your plate. That's how I build my market. Transparency. How about I just give you a business card? Okay.
Do you have any problems with water? The water leaks, do you have to treat it?
Our nitrite levels in our water are higher than they should be, but they're nothing compared to 100 miles that direction from me. So out in Pratt. I have not noticed any problems yet. I have not been down that rabbit hole real hard purposefully. The water from our well is safer to drink than the water in Cheney in town where we live. So that's where I'm resting right now with that.
Well, you haven't noticed a problem.
No, I've not noticed any problems.
Did I see it right that the orientation of your high tunnels is different?
Yes, I have one that's north-south and one that's east-west, and the reason is because that's how it fit on our farm. I read a whole bunch of things, and
nobody says whether east, west, north,
Yeah.
south, so we chose to do both ways. Let's see what happens.
There you
Have you
go.
noticed any
Mess
difference
around,
between
find
the
out.
two?
How much time do I have?
1 minute.
Okay, so last week, the north-south tunnel, there's 40 plus rips in the plastic. We think it's from the ice. They're all on the east side. It didn't happen to the tunnel that runs east-west. It just happened on the tunnel that runs north-south. There's lots of things at play. It is a diverse problem. It's not, one thing to blame, but that's an observation from last week. And I have noticed that the tunnel that is oriented from east to west stays warmer. So has more southern exposure.
Thank you, Shelby.
Thank you.
Now we'll have, thank you.
Because my grandmother was a home missionary. So I really don't have your home if you want to look at it that way. But I come to you from Gary, Indiana. This is the last location, Lord willing, that I'll reside in. But they've been talking about Oklahoma today, so God only knows. Thank you so much. Okay. It's gonna go in order. He's gonna take care of that for me. I am new to farming as of June 2019. Technically, June 2020. I work at a hospital and we knew something was coming down because the CDC was in our little small hospital, so something is happening, right? So I was going through the neighborhood and I saw this little area that was overgrown. I said, Lord, something's coming and I've got to be ready. Whatever that meant, I had no clue. But what I did notice is that we were going to have to be outside. So I found this little area, asked them, can I clean it up? And they let me pay them to clean it up. So I cleaned it up. And we were outside doing yoga on the lawn and Zumba on the lawn all during COVID. People were outside. They did not want to go inside. So since they were going to remain outside, I'm like, okay, Lord, I can't have them out there and not feed them, right? So I said, oh, what can we do? Well, I got permission and an additional fee to farm 39 square yard. That's where I started. Not a lot of space, but I needed something that people can refresh themselves with while they were outside. So what we decided to do, to grow herbs, edible flowers, and gourmet garlic. The gourmet garlic, the purpose of that is to actually provide the funding that we need for it. We are a non-entity. I didn't think I was gonna be there this long, but since I am, we are growing. So what we do, we have 7 hives, and we are a teaching center now. We have gourmet garlic, and with our garlic runts, as we call them, we do black garlic, we do garlic chips, we do garlic ice cream, we do black garlic chocolate chip cookies. So if you're ever in Indiana, please stop by and we will treat you well. And people get to eat while they're on the farm, and they actually get to make a drink. So we encourage you to go through, touch, taste, and feel everything in our space. And then we have water for you. And by the time you get through the whole hour-long tour, we're more than 39 square acres, don't think that long for 39 square acres. By the time you get through, you have a really nice infused drink. And then you can make your own salad while you're there. And that's pretty much what we do. So we have our honey, and you see where we are in our little space, our little green star there is us. Okay, I'm ready for the next one. So how did I get to you guys? Well, there's this program called the Land Ethic Mentorship. I was determined that I was not going to be in that little 39 square space forever, because I'm sitting on 6 acres and they weren't using it. So I figured, oh, they'll let me stay a little longer, and they did. So I now have a 10-year contract, and I will be there. The contract is now, I have 7 more years to go. And through the Land Ethic Mentorship, I needed to know how to grow. I had never grown before, so I needed to know how to scale up. And they partnered me with this wonderful, wonderful man, Mr. Michael Thompson. And Michael Thompson has been an outstanding mentor. And at first everybody was thinking, how could that be? He does not grow garlic. It does not matter. If you have someone who's been doing the work, doing the work well, and you're willing to learn their techniques, their methods, and anything else that they can offer, and then equally as important, you're willing to share who you are and how you can be in their life. Don't ever think that someone can't use something that you have to offer. I know they do, and Michael has been so generous in sharing that sometimes I just smile a lot because I just like to smile, and that has helped him through some times that he needed a smile. So if you can go through that, I'm just not going to talk a lot about them, but this is what they are. The mentorship is a historically underserved producers. They make up approximately 40% of all U.S. farm principal operators. So their job is actually to help people, new farmers in particular, people of color, and other veterans and all sorts of minorities. And they do an outstanding job of pairing us with mentors. And let's move on. We're gonna go a little faster, we're gonna get through them. Okay, options for engagement. We do a lot, that's me there. We have farm tours all the time. Matter of fact, I think that's gonna have to be my full-time job. So our local schools come to us, our extension office is my best friend. We have had people to come literally from all over the world to our little space, and it amazes me all the time, like coming here. But it's the environment, it's who the people are, the whole community. It's not just me, I wish I could take credit for it, but I really can't. It's the community. We do, with our bees, we have a couple of the local high schools, they come to us, and we actually do a bee program for their students. So it's a 6-week program. They learn about bees, they get to go back there, they get to do all sorts of things, and they love it the few times they've come, and my face was like swollen all over. So that's always a good thing to talk about. The bees never do any harm. When people go back there, not dressed properly, things happen. So when you come to me and I've got my EpiPen like this and walking, that means I've done something wrong. That's a valuable lesson to teach people about future farming. And I've had to teach that lesson a couple of times. Unfortunately, that means I've not learned it well. And I do tell them that as well. So I want to encourage them. So we have lots of people that come out, mostly educators and other farmers, which is amazing to me. I've part of what we do, we wanted to get to what I sell. Oh, that's Michael. Everybody needs to- If you don't know Michael Thompson, that's Michael Thompson and I last year. He has been such a blessing to me. And before we turn, we'll leave Michael up there for a little bit. One of the things people always ask me is, how much garlic do you grow? Well, we now have 7 acres. They let me rent 6 acres, and then I found another acre off of their property. And so we now have 6 acres. We average about, what did we plant this year? About 8,000 cloves of garlic. That's a lot of garlic. But we have help, which is why I have all these value-added products. That's my incentive. We have a mini garlic festival. We have people to dress up with a garlic head. So you come out, you have a good time, and you work for us. And it works out exceptionally well. I only sell my products to 2 entities. Both of them are under the USDA. There's a program, and you may want to write this, I don't know if you have it in, it should be in every state. It's called the LFPA, the Local Food Purchase Agreement, LFPA. I sell directly to the USDA. They in turn donate it to the local food pantries. And I have, in such a unique position because they had no garlic and no honey in the Midwest for the farmers, I can tell them which food pantries I want them to go to. So I make sure that the food pantries that has the majority of senior citizens who would normally not get fresh honey at a food pantry get that. So you can carry a little weight if you have something unique. So I encourage you. And the other entity that I sell directly to is called Farm Her to Mom. It's an initiative with the local visiting nurses as well as female farmers. We sell directly to them, and what they do is they make these wonderful CSA boxes and they donate them to new moms. So I don't have to really do any work, right? I have volunteers to come out and do all the planting and the harvesting. And then they come and pick up all this stuff from me when it's all done. So we can make life easy for us. Let's consider some of these things that you can do to make sure life is good. I'm good? I'm speaking.
You keep going. You're doing great.
I'm going fast, I know. And so that's one of the things I like people to do. Know that you can do some unusual things. Now this year, as of June 10th, we can go to the next one. I'm sorry, last year, June 10th, we actually got our first high tunnel. Now, what do I need a high tunnel for if I'm just growing garlic and have all these bees? Who knows, right? I wish I had thought of that before I got it.
Yeah.
But we had a new NRCS first, and I know it's late, and I'm gonna try it anyway. I know it's gonna work tomorrow, but I'm not sure about today. So let me try something real quick. If you do not know, let's see, Tatiana. Let's see if Tatiana answers. She does not know I'm calling. She must know I'm calling the Carl Keats Indian. Let's try one more. Oh, you know what I'm thinking here? One more time. Now this is important, what I'm about to do. And I'm trusting that most of you are already connected the way you need to be connected. Tatiana is a former NRCS representative. She was ours when I first got there. We've had several since then, and all of them are on speed dial. Every last one of them. Matter of fact, they see my number, they either go, "Hi, Miss Carmen," or they don't answer. So maybe that's what's happening right now. And the same with my FSA officer and my, that's the problem, I'm still on airplane mode. Let's try that again. Okay, as well as with my extension, Purdue Extension Ag Educator. They are on speed dial because we need them. And they need us. They cannot be everywhere. They cannot know everything. And the little input that we do offer is really good. They've told me this is really good for them. Gosh. Okay, we're not gonna get Tatiana. I was thinking it wasn't gonna work because of the time. She's actually off for work right now. But we will definitely call her tomorrow and may give her heads up tonight. But I have them on speed dial for lots of reasons. They come out and test my soil. They've come out and tested my wood chip. definitely instrumental in the high tunnels. Also, I do vermicomposting, and they actually come out and eat my good stuff with me. And we literally can eat it. Don't do it, but we do, because I need them to know our food comes from the soil anyway. Everything that's in the ground, we need to make sure we understand how to use and what is good for our good too. Our build was a community build. I encourage people, if you can, grab some people, it doesn't matter who they are. We had approximately 38 individuals throughout the course of the day to this build. It was fantastic. People I did know, because our ag educator, she put it out. Everybody just showed up. And there were people who came out who could not literally physically do any work, but they served food. We got to know one another. And I'm relatively new to Indiana. I've been there since 2017. I got to meet a whole lot of community people that I never would have known had I not been doing the high tunnel. So that goes back to some questions that people ask me all the time. Why do you have a high tunnel? I really didn't know at first, except for my NRC expert who says, you know, you're gonna grow. This is the time to get what you need. Always build your foundation, make sure it's solid in advance. So, before you apply, make sure you really need one. I didn't know I needed one, but I do now. Why do I need one now? Because my extension educator loves the fact that we are an education center, a hub is what she calls it, and there are some people from Bangladesh who needed a spot to work with the research team. Guess where they have? So now the high tunnel is paying for itself because they've taken care of that for me. So they will be with me for a full season, and then the following season, maybe I'll know what I'm going to grow. But my suggestion to everyone is kind of know in advance, have an idea. Okay, and people always ask, well, how long did it take to get a high tunnel? It took me about 18 months from the time of application to having the high tunnel installed, only because we had such a high turnover in their staff. So things got kind of mixed up as they were changing staff. Tatiana moved to Virginia, then we had another wonderful young man. He came out and he was running 4 counties, and he's like, I can't do this, and he left, and then we had another one. This is not a negative upon them. This is to encourage us who have time and energy to go and apply for a job, because they need our help. Like I said, we're teams with members with them. So if you can, or if you know someone who's interested, please send them to them, because they really need your help. It shouldn't take 18 months, but since it did, I got to meet 4 really good people, and I'm in contact with every last one of them. So please consider that. The lessons that I've been teaching about this high tunnel is to have an emergency plan and emergency funds. Shelby mentioned that things happen. Are you prepared to take care of that high tunnel when the plastic clears up? Most people aren't in advance. So plan ahead, plan ahead. Typically the contracts run from 1 year to 5 years, depending on the size that you have. So make sure that you are prepared to take care of that high tunnel. For whatever reason, it may lead you to stay there. And let's see. I did talk about involving your community, how critical that is, not just with the actual build, but getting to know the people that you live with or live in proximity to. And when you do need a new plastic, and you will, because it's recommended that you get one periodically, that you think creativity, okay, that word, and buy in bulk with another fund. So I've already lined up 2 people that I can purchase in bulk with in the event that something happens. Or if something happens to theirs, I'm already prepared to buy with them so we can get the best discount that we can. And finally, last but not least, mental health is a major thing in my line of work. And sometimes it looks like as if we're flying on high. And most times we are. But then it only takes 1 or 2 little things to happen. And all of a sudden we're not so high. So I want to encourage everyone, take care of yourselves. And when and where you cannot, I know soil is good medicine, soil is good health. Just do like I have to do sometimes. Just go outside and lay in the ground, lay in the middle of your field. Let the Lord take good care of you.
Thank you, Carmen. We have about 3 minutes if anybody
minutes
has any
for
questions.
Yes, sir.
What, do you buy garlic seed? Do you use your own plants back, and how do you plant that many?
I purchased the first set, from Hillary and from Gurney, and then after that, I started saving each season. So I save my own seed, I'm at that point now. Then there are people all over who send me garlic, so that I can have a different variety. We only have 5 varieties right now, and that's all I really want. I'm like, Tabasco blue, music, chestnut red, insulin red, and elephant garlic, which is not a true garlic, but people like the size, so just go with it. And that's what I do. And so people still want to send me things, and that's fine. I'll just carve out a little spot and grow a different variety. Yes.
I'm gonna piggyback on you. There is a regenerative urban garlic farm in Wichita. It's on the west side. It's called Ori's Farm Fresh. They sell their garlic. If you wanna order garlic and support a local small farmer.
Yes. Is that,
Megan.
Jorge Garibay?
Ori's, O-R-I-E-S.
There's a Mr. Garibay I met last year, so if you guys can also get with him. Yes, okay, okay, I'm promoting, good job, you said promote that. So, okay, so that was a farmer I met here at the conference last year, and he has been quite instrumental in helping, with some things I just didn't know, like, I don't know what I'm doing, I just get out there and do what I can. Yes, sir.
I think part of his question too was, how do you plant 7 acres for, you hand planting all this, or?
Yes, they are. All those wonderful people that come out too, and I make sure that they're well fed.
Is that all in one day, or? Is that
Oh, no, it's
spread
over the course
that
of
out?
about a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you plant in the mounds, or you just,
Not at this point, we did originally.
you're all flat, just do a little spot, put the slope in, and then down and go?
That's it. We keep things real simple. I don't want my health to leave me.
You 100% success rate on that?
Our success, oh yes, we had last year, I think 98% success rate. And we do the garlic, we do the scapes first in the fall. About June, July, we harvest the scapes. And then we come back again August, September, because we do succession planting with them as well, so. Yes, ma'am.
Where do you sell your scapes? Typically.
I do not, that is a gift, if you will, for all that labor people do. And they have free reign, they have permission to sell it wherever they want to sell it. So I just get all I want, put it in my freezer, and I'm done with it, and they can do whatever they want with the rest. Sometimes the Farm Her to Mama group will come out and they can harvest it. The scapes are free for the taking.
Thank you so much, Carmen.
Okay, so my name is Rachel Summers. I'm with Resilient Growers Farm. Our motto is establishing roots with the ability to withstand a changing environment, economy, and culture. So that's every decision we make has that in mind. A little bit about us. We are a family of 3 now. We had Wesley in 2023, and then Brent, my husband, is a mechanical engineer. He works off the farm full time and supports us personally with our finances. I have a master's in environmental management industrial, so I managed a 3 million gallon per month chemical wastewater treatment system before I decided to sell my house, move into a van, and work for an aquaponics farm. I did that because simply be the change you want to see in the world. That's it. If you want to know more about van life, I'd be happy to tell you that's a whole other animal. Yeah, it was great, but a challenge. It does help your marriage in the end.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so this is our permanent farm, but before we started our farm, we, I did skip some slides. Okay, I have a few missing slides. Anyway, when we went in the van to work for an aquaponics farm, it was a 70,000 gallon system. The business plan was not sustainable. I'm gonna dog on aquaponics here. 30 minutes. If the power goes out, you have 30 minutes to save the fish. That is not a resilient system. I learned that, and I hated the fact that I felt like I was managing an incubation system. It was not sustainable. So I quickly, I read Kiss the Ground by Josh Jekyll, learned very quickly regenerative agriculture. That's gotta be it. That's where I need to go. So I found a farm in New Jersey that was building an aquaponics greenhouse in addition to 15 acres regenerative vegetable production outside. So I got a position managing that farm. We lived in the van on the farm, saved up about $20,000, and during the pandemic moved back to Tulsa to start our own farm. This was during a really hot market. Cannabis growers were flocking in, buying land with cash. People were coming from California, buying land with cash. We got beat out about 7 times on 7 different properties. So we ended up leasing an acre in a backyard behind an organic garden center. That was just sod. We flipped that whole acre, turned it into, it was 65, 25 foot rows. And that's how we built our market. Was we took that, we started a CSA. It was not received well. In Oklahoma, CSAs are not popular yet. Still not, I don't think. But the good news is we went to the Tulsa Farmers Market, and that's where some people had started to hear about regenerative agriculture. We were able to showcase our product on the table, and that did the marketing itself. When you grow regenerative produce, it looks different, and people see that. So that's where we built most of our customer base, is at the Tulsa Farmers Market. Over the past 3 years, we've been selling most of our product there, in addition to local nonprofits, restaurants, and a little bit of wholesale. There's a lot of pop-up shops coming around that sell all local products. So they've been kind of popping up all over Tulsa and making it really easy for us to sell our products. So basically right now, we have a lot of demand and we are managing risk. How much risk do we want to take to grow this product? Because that's where we're scared. If we hit a drought, anything could happen. We don't have crop insurance. So it's all about deciding how much risk do you want to take this year. So this right here is 2021. We got a blank slate. We wrote the seller a love letter. It turns out we were on the news that night for the market, and the seller saw it and ended up deciding that we deserved the property. So that's how we got the property. It has 2 easements on it. It's 10 acres. No water, no utilities. We did all of that. So this right here is the soil that we started with, and the top one is what we had in this last summer. So the color change in itself is very different. It feels different. We just use our hands. We don't use a trowel at all anymore. It feels so perfect. And then this picture is from 2023. So 2 years later, it's the exact same spot. So this is 1 acre, by the way, on 10 acres. We're just growing in 1 acre. The rest around it is for sheep production. So we do a lot of cover crops. I've experimented with quite a few different ones to prep land for vegetable production. It needs a couple seasons. You can't just start growing vegetables in a section. The soil doesn't know what to do with that. So we prep at least a year in advance. This field is my favorite place in the world. It's a field of compass plants. It's on an acre. I had no idea that we had landed on a gold mine. These just were there. Does anybody have compass plants on their property? It's a native prairie plant. It can live up to 100 years. It's just amazing. So we take very good care of that acre, and we try not to graze it more than 15%. We try to add as much biology as possible in any way we can. So I had a restaurant come to me, they said, oh, we can't source ducks. Can you do ducks for us? Okay, sure, let's try it. It was interesting. I haven't quite figured out how to make it economical yet, but the cool part was this cover crop, they can eat that whole tunnel in 2 days. So I could flip a tunnel really quick. And 300 ducks was 1.5 tons of feed in just 3 months. So that went to my cropland, which is really cool. And we rotate the ducks in these tractors right here. It's about 30 ducks per tractor, so we just move it every day. We also do sheep around the 18 acres around it. We're dealing with a lot of woody encroachment, so I'm working towards trying to cut that back, but having the sheep maintain it in addition to doing routine burns. So the tunnels, I think my story is unique in that when I first started, 2021, yeah, we had one tunnel. It's a 100-foot tunnel. We had applied for another tunnel. We were really intimidated with working with NRCS through USDA. And now I honestly didn't understand the lingo. I didn't know how to work the system. Finally, with a few connections, it worked out, and we got approved for our second tunnel. And here we are with 5 tunnels now this year, with 4 more that we're going to build by the end of the year at least. So tunnels are my crop insurance. And if you look, you can look at it as a crop insurance. They protect me from all of the extremes that Oklahoma has to offer. Extreme winds, the heavy downpours all at once. The irrigation overhead is very precise, which is really important for the small acreage that we're farming. And then erosion as well. In the summer, we can put shade cloth on it, so it gives us an additional 2 months of production, which is really important. All right, so wanted to get in with, so if you're running on a 1/4 acre, you focus on square foot per bed. So I've been able to come up with sort of a figure on what crop is worth it versus what crop is not worth it. That's really important when you're market farming. If you're gonna grow 3 rows of cabbage, I promise you, you're not gonna get very much for it. So you focus on what crop quantity per square foot or price per square foot. So we also do intercropping to increase that amount per row per week. We have a minimum dollar amount that we've decided per row per week we're going to make this so that we can meet our income goals for the year. So I've got 40 100-foot rows, and that is the equivalent of 1 full-time person that's working this. So one thing I really wanted to know 4 years ago when I first started was how do you do this? Because I started with $20,000 in savings, but I couldn't get a private loan anywhere. Bank wouldn't touch me. We have inconsistent income. They don't like that. So even though I had a good credit score, I couldn't get a loan. Nobody really wanted to invest in me because market farming, that's cute, most people say. So it was really hard. So what I ended up getting was I worked with USDA on almost everything. And so I wanted to touch on that with how much USDA has to offer. So they have an operating loan. I spent $30,000 startup costs with USDA operating loan, low interest rate. It's over 7 years. I got my tax exemption permit through Oklahoma, so that covers a lot of taxes that you don't have to pay when you're purchasing farming equipment. That 1 acre plot I leased in the first year in 2021. So this is just kind of showing how much it cost me in the first year. Second year, we moved to the new 10 acre plot. It's about $10,000 per acre if you want to be 20 minutes from your local market. So just a heads up. But you really only need 1 acre. I wanted to run sheep, so I bought 10 acres. That was through a USDA new farm ownership loan. So that has a cap of 600,000 that you can purchase through. You have to have 3 years of experience farming. So what I highly recommend is go learn at other farms like we did, and then make your mistakes there, come back with a plan. We purchased our second high tunnel. That was the equivalent of 10,000. We're able to get tunnels from Farmer's Friend, so we are able to get the 100% of that paid for by NRCS. Okay. So that was 20 rows in the second year. Third year, we got another tunnel. We bought another 10 acres through USDA, another tunnel through NRCS. We were able to hire part-time labor. This is what our tunnels look like right now. They're unheated. We don't have a high energy input cost. It's just that initial high cost of getting the equipment, all of the tunnels, in the first 4 years, basically. Fourth year, we purchased a fourth and fifth high tunnel. They increased the cap on how much you can spend on the tunnels, which is really cool. That was, the product, like Shelby said, of the pandemic. So just to show you my income with all that, if we're looking at one full-time person, because I'm a full-time mom as well, I work part-time, I hire somebody part-time, 50% of my expenses go towards labor, and everything I make goes back into the farm. So about 50%, we've got 10% goes back into the farm. My mortgage for the land is about 17%, and all of my operating expenses are about 20%. So that's compost, seed, and water, and a little bit on energy. I don't use too much of that though. And it's been a linear growth curve. I'm hoping now that I'm not investing as much in equipment, we'll start to see it become exponential. But I'm surviving, that's the cool part. I didn't think I would be, I'm not gonna lie. But there's a lot of, I don't have a salary, but there's so many other benefits that we could have a whole conference on that. Just being home with him all day, on top of him learning how to do this, that is so critical for our future. Okay, so quick projects in the works. Yeah, I said we're building another 4 tunnels. We got, I don't know if you saw so I have received over 100,000 in grants from USDA. That's about as much as what I've invested in my farm. It's about 100,000 as well. So that gives you, if that gives you a little bit of motivation to take that risk or take that jump if you're interested in it. I think that the USDA is set up to really help us now, and it's a lot easier to navigate the website. So that is my what I really wanted to communicate. I think that's been the coolest part of my story. So that is about it.
Thank you.
Questions?
We're gonna have all 3 come on back up. Everybody's okay with that? So questions? Questions for me?
I'm with familiarity with Johnson Sioux compost, and it's more mycorrhizal, and then vegetables, to my understanding, like more of a bacterial. So is there a ratio that anybody's come up with? How do you want to put Johnson Sioux on the vegetable garden area?
If you do a minimal amount with the brassicas, I've noticed a huge difference. We had wood chips and walkways. We still do that, but we are very careful and cautious when we're planting brassicas not to have too much woody material near them. And that's the same thing with the Johnson Sioux. It's high mycorrhizal. That's where the woody material also enhances that as well. So just be cautious around brassicas in particular. I haven't noticed anything else.
That might be why my brassicas sucked this year. One of the things that comes to mind when you bring that up is, from what I've learned in the last couple of years, is biology self-selects. And so I don't worry that there's too much of one thing or too much of another thing. I worry about diversity, and then I let the ecosystem take care of itself with my support.
And it's hard to get into that mind space.
And what's that biocell select? What did you just say?
Soil biology self-selects. So if there's a, Jamie, I might need your help. I'm not ready to. If you're growing a diverse amount of things in your soil, the exudates coming from the roots of all of those diverse plants are feeding the biology. But if you move into a system where it's just one thing or two things, then that biology will eventually be only the biology that's fed from the root exudates of those one or two things. Does that make sense? So that is why I practice a lot of diversity and rotation, not just in my crops, but in the covers and the stuff in between.
Like, for example, with the brassicas, some farmers will plant parsley in between because parsley likes mycorrhizal and kale doesn't, but then it ends up making the soil happy, or a better balance.
And parsley is a darn tough crop.
And as a monocrop grower, all we do is simple, real simple. All winter, all my neighbors are crushing their eggshells. I know this is not the norm, but this is what we do. They crush their eggshells, they save their coffee grounds, because garlic has a high nitrogen, they just take it all up. So what we do is we just put it all back in there. We cover the soil over the winter, because over the summer for the most part, because we plant in October and then we harvest, and we just keep adding as we grow. So our soil is really good. We have it tested at least twice every other year because of what I want to go into. So it's a monocrop, right? Just take up all your nitrogen, so we just put it back in the most organic way. And like I said, we do vermicomposting, so that goes in there as well. So I don't do anything else, and I know all these people out here are gonna learn more about all they sell, but as of now, we do not use anything. And even in our edible, especially in our edible flowers, that's all we use. Eggshells, vermicomposting, other things, tea, anything that we recycle them on. We just naturally do our compost. That's it.
I think it's important that you remember that don't let perfect get in the way of good. Because I've composted and I've done a terrible job at composting, and I've done a good job at composting. I've made IMOS, and I've had IMOS that was obviously very biologically active, and I've also made IMOS that was obviously very not biologically active. I've done, I've read a lot about Johnson Sioux, haven't done it yet, but Johnson Sioux does have mycorrhizal fungi, but it also has other bacteria as well. And so setting your mind into, I'm providing abundance, I'm providing diversity, and it's going to be okay. That's important.
I was curious to hear a little bit more about the LFPA system.
It's called Local Food Purchasing Agreement. And I want to say it was in the farm bill a couple of years back. And what they do is they provide funding. Our area, it has, I think, 3.5 million was allocated for the Midwest for us. But it varies, like I said, throughout the whole country. And what you do is you sign up with whoever your local, and you probably can find that out through the NRCS or the FSA office. And what they do is you just sign up, let them know what you're gonna grow and how much you wanna grow. They need it pretty accurate, and then they will purchase it from you. Like I said, I just went to the extra mile to make sure that people in my community actually are receiving the best of the best, because where we are right now, most people get a lot of canned goods. They needed some fresh honey, some fresh garlic to make sure that they were whole. So you can check it out, or I can Google some more stuff for you, see what's happening here, and then just apply. It's a simple application. It's not even a whole page application. What you're growing, when you're gonna have it ready, what you want to charge for. Now they will cap out something sometimes, because I'm thinking, oh my God, I can get, they're like, no, bring it down. And they, I brought it down a little bit, but they still accepted the price that I wanted to sell my products, my produce.
I'm curious if any of you are looking into the food as medicine program at all.
Watching.
I have now we're developing contracts, but, one of my big supporters for purchasing produce from my farm is a nonprofit called Fresh RX OK in Tulsa. She purchases from all the regenerative farms around, so that she's big on that. I can't even begin to explain the projects that she's involved in. Erin Martin, she's somebody you definitely wanna follow.
Before I became a farmer, I was in healthcare for 20 years, 13 years of that as a critical care nurse. And I am not participating in programs like that, but I learn a lot from them. But again, like Jimmy asked me, how do I find my market? I talk. And I tell them about how I use food to make many parts of myself and my life better. And so, yeah, it's happening. It's just not.
We have a good RX program in our area, and we also have food as medicine. So what I've been doing is working with 2 of our local primary care physicians and learning how to onboard. As much as I love helping our communities, I don't want to work that hard to meet all of the qualifications. And they're really not that many, but I would have to grow an additional couple of thousand more garlic bulbs. And then same thing with honey, I have to get more apiary, more hives. And so what they're doing now is looking for people. So they started off last year with farm to table, meaning the chefs that they have been hiring, the physician, they actually have where I can still bring out my garlic. So I have garlic honey. That's a big hit during this time of year. So these are some of the things they want to bring on as the value added products for me, because that's going to just keep us all clear and whole. So the programs are there, and if you can get into them, I would strongly advise you. The reward is great, especially if you have some really good, check with your own primary physician first and ask them how are they participating.
Well, thank you so much for an awesome presentation.